Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into MV12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight, a teen killed overnight and why there won't be an improvement in crime in the near future, according to an activist. Forecasters eyeing a developing tropical system. COB's president says university status is more than just a name change. More calls from the private sector to explain the impact of NHI before its rollout. Plus, as always, we count down the top quotes and news this week. I'm Paige McCartney. We've got those stories and more straight ahead on MV12 Weekend. Welcome once again to MB12. A teenager was killed last night after he and 3 others were stabbed during a fight that erupted at a dance in eastern New Providence. His murder taking the national record to an all-time high of 128. Police say 17-year-old Seti Stanford Cooper was one of 4 men that were stabbed at a dance hall off Prince Charles Drive after a fight broke out at around 11 Saturday night. The victims were taken to hospital, but the Straughns Alley resident succumbed to his injuries overnight. The other 3 victims are said to be in stable condition, according to police. Again, this recent killing has broken the murder record, which now stands at 128. While with this year's murder count now surpassing the record set in 2011, Director of Operation Ceasefire and consultant to the Ministry of National Security, Carlos Reed, is predicting that there will not be an improvement anytime soon. Here's Jasmine Brown.
Reed says the problem will not be an easy one to solve.
In fact, he says with the current gang war taking over the streets, the killings won't end anytime soon.
I believe, honestly, that it's going to get worse before it gets better.
On Monday, this year's murder count rose to 127 after a man who was shot on Hay Street last month died in hospital. Head of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, told our news team this week that gang violence is a major concern for police, specifically turf wars where people fight over territories to sell drugs. Recognizing the problem, Reed says the Ministry of National Security has asked for help in compiling data on gangs that have evolved from youth street gangs to highly organized criminal organizations.
Years ago, we had a bunch of youth gangs where like persons were just coming together just to try find identity and to be able to feel that they had some respect. Now what we're seeing is the coming together of some of these smaller fractions group to be able to combine to become major organized gangs in this Bahamas. And this is one of the reasons why we're seeing the escalation of crime, particularly murders.
According to Reed, there are at least 4 major gangs operating in the Bahamas. He adds that the gangs of today are far different from those of the mid-1990s. Minister of State for National Security Keith Bell recently said that the former Ingram administration is to blame for the high level of crime occurring today. Bell asserted that more criminal gangs formed between 2007 and 2012 than any other point in Bahamian history. But Reed insists it's not a political problem. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
The Department of Meteorology warning of a possible breakdown in weather over the next several days due to the probable formation of a tropical system just south of the Bahamas. A release issued this afternoon points to a National Hurricane Center advisory that shows showers and thunderstorms associated with an area of low pressure within 100 miles of the Turks and Caicos Islands have become more organized and concentrated overnight. Surface observations indicate that gale force winds have been occurring in brief squalls, mainly to the east of the center. An Air Force reconnaissance aircraft was scheduled to investigate the system this morning to get further confirmation. Environmental conditions are now considered to be much more favorable for Tropical Depression number 12 or even Tropical Storm Kate to form from this system today or during the next couple of days while it moves west-northwest over the Turks and Caicos Islands and the Bahamas and then turns northwest. The Met Department says regardless, residents in Turks and Caicos Islands and in the southeast and central Bahamas should expect locally heavy rains and strong gusty winds today. Residents in these areas should also be prepared to take quick action in the event a tropical storm warning is issued sometime today. And in other news, the draft University of the Bahamas bill is expected to be tabled sometime this month in the House of Assembly, but COB President Rodney Smith says there's so much more involved in the transition than a name change. He said the University Transition Secretariat, which was established in 2012, has a weighted task of building a brand new institution entirely different from what it was in the past.
What will happen actually is with the University of the Bahamas draft bill, all of the core governance requirements will have adjusted as well. But the core governance requirements within the bill are designed to move us towards international accreditation. We will become a global institution. Our peers will be individual institutions within the United States as well as in other countries as well. We are actually going after the same accreditation that many of the institutions of higher education in China, which is the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools in the United States. This is perhaps the most rigid accrediting agency in the world.
The institution is seeking accreditation from the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools as well as athletic accreditation through the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. Smith said that in and of itself is a very involved process.
It is not a name change only. No stretch of the imagination. Once the to a University of the Bahamas goes through the process and becomes law, we will be operating under a totally different institution. There are many things that are going on right now in preparation for that.
Accreditation takes about 3 years, but requires continuous improvements and extensive self-evaluations designed to change the very structure of each level at the institution, according to the president.
We're looking right now at all of our financial and administrative administration systems. We are in the process of upgrading everything and actually transitioning to a totally different level of functioning. All of this takes time, even with regards to creating a new organizational structure for the operation and functioning of the University of the Bahamas. We have been working on these things for the past several months in preparation for this transition.
Smith likened the process to sprinting toward the starting line of a race, considering the amount of work that will continue even after the college reaches university status.
What I mean by that is that working the way we've been working the past several years, getting ready for the bill itself, the transition day from college to university is run. And that's the day when we really start to build a university.
While with government's aggressive move to have national health insurance implemented, one of the directors for one of the largest health insurers in the Bahamas says there are still too many unanswered questions about how the public health care scheme will affect private health care, particularly in the insurance industry. Anthony Ferguson predicted severe losses in the sector.
What does it mean? It means that in its current form, you would see a lot of reduction in employment level in the insurance companies, because if the government is now providing health insurance, companies that exclusively provide health insurance or have substantial health insurance portfolios wouldn't need those.
For months now, private health care providers and stakeholders have petitioned government to make more structured improvements to the public health care system before adding a new tax for services, with many cautioning that the new tax would sink the country economically. Ferguson also believes it will cause the level of service to deteriorate in an already strained system.
We have not focused on developing the infrastructure to deliver the service that the government is seeking to provide. And finally, the whole administration leaves, again, I'm not that close to it, but I would like to see the administration of that plan be such that there is less opportunities for corruption and graft and leakages, right? And so unless those things are addressed, which I think should fundamentally be addressed first before we talk about implementing this, if those things are not addressed, it's just going to put more